we're going to talk about is called flowing. Flowing is just organized note taking. It's the name that we have in debate for sort of taking notes about what your opponents say. The difference between debate and speech events, or really other organized academic events, is that in debate you have to listen to what your opponents say and then immediately give a speech where you respond to what they say. If you've ever watched like the presidential debates, sometimes it's incredibly frustrating when like one person will go and say their points and then the next person will go and not ever really like refute what the other person's saying. And so in debate, we flow and take notes about what our opponents say so that we can respond to those arguments that our opponents have made in order. Here is like a picture of what that might look like. So here, the person's written down some arguments, and then here's like kind of the points that their opponents made, and then some responses, and then it kind of as the debate goes on. Here's a different picture of that. So, someone wrote some stuff down, and then they wrote all these answers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then made some points, and, that's not the best picture, but you kind of get the idea. Here, again, not the best picture, but you see they've kind of written some stuff down and they're kind of making connections between each of the speeches, blah, blah, blah. The point is, you need to pay attention to everything that your opponents say and write things down in order and then respond to it and refute it in order to be able to win and make a persuasive argument. Because otherwise, if you're making your point and your opponent has other arguments that you're not responding to, you're not doing a good job of persuading the judge that you're correct. So let's say you're arguing with your parents and you say that you want to buy a pupper. And the reason you give is love. And your parents make some arguments, and they're like, you know what? We don't think that we have enough time to have a dog. You're going to high school, and you're busy, blah, blah, blah. You don't have enough money for a dog. They're expensive. And, dog is a big responsibility. Well, it's not going to be very effective for you to make an argument if you're just like, well, I really would love a dog. We should buy a dog. I love dogs. I'm all about the dogs. Like, that's not going to be very effective because you're not really responding to the points that they're making. So instead, you're going to want to think about your responses to each thing. And, in the case of a debate, you'd write those out. So you might be like, your, high school gets out 30 minutes earlier. And you're not going to play 2 sports next year. So, that would mean that you'll have plenty of time to be able to do that. And then, with the money point out that you'll get a job or, you'll spend your allowance on the dog. And for the responsibility, you like give some examples of being responsible, right? So, you kind of want to make sure that if your parents make those arguments, you're going to respond to each one. And in the case of a debate, then if your parents were going to, defend their position, they'd have to go through and refute all of your points. So they might point out that even though high school ends earlier, you're going to have more homework, so your time's going to be taken up. Or, if you're not going to play 2 sports, but you're going to play a varsity sport, that'll take up more time. And then the debate would go on, and you could go back and forth, just like that you would in a debate. And so you'll see from this exercise that, for me, just writing some stuff down, is that flowing helps you kind of, keep arguments in order in a debate. And remember that you also have a third party in all of these debates who's the judge, and the judge is ultimately going to decide who is the most persuasive. And so the judge is going to try to write down these arguments as well and track who's saying what and responding to things in the debate. So it helps for you, when you flow, to give directions about how you're debating. So group things by main idea. So, I said, first my parents said that we won't have enough time for a dog. My first point there is that high school gets out 30 minutes earlier, so I'll be able to come home earlier and watch the dog, which means that it demonstrates that we will have plenty of time for a dog. And then my second point is that I'm not going to play 2 sports, so that means that I'll have plenty more time to watch the dog because I won't have as much of an athletic season. My parents' next point is that a dog's expensive. My first point is that, I'll get a job and that will help fund it. And so you can see here by grouping things by main idea and signposting or saying, this is what I'm responding to and this is my point, and labeling the arguments, their point about time, my point is about sports, numbering the arguments, my first point, my second point, my opponent's first point. All of that helps everyone in the debate, yourself, your judge, and your opponent, all stay on the same page and be able to track a debate as it goes so that they can make their best arguments and the judge can make the best decision possible because it was really apparent the development of the debate and the clash of the arguments. And so that's the purpose of flowing, is so that you can have good, clear debates where you're writing all of your opponent's arguments down and you're responding to them, and your judge can make good decisions because they're following the development of arguments throughout the course of a debate. And so flowing will make you better at debate because it'll make sure that you're responding to everything that your opponents have said.